Thank you everyone for joining this afternoon. My name's Breanne Bales. I'm the manager for the Homeless Contribution Income Tax Credit, or HCTC, as you're probably familiar with it. Lonnie Silva is also on the call. Lonnie is the program assistant that works with HCTC, um, and will be monitoring the chat throughout. And so just welcome everyone today. We will have a presentation to start off about the annual review process. I don't expect it to take the full hour at all, so we'll end the recording and end the formal presentation and have an open time at the end of the call if you want to stay on to ask HCTC general questions or want to chat with us at all. That's totally fine. But we will have this first portion recorded so that we can share out the annual review information, as is the purpose of the call. So glad to have you today. It's really interesting because it was about a year ago where we were rolling out the changes from the legislation that passed last year to change the Social Security number requirement and allowed intermediate gifts through intermediary organizations. And so I was just reflecting on that as in preparation for this, just how we've already been a year since that was implemented. We had a lot of uh, great data that was submitted for our annual report. We shared that out over email, but just wanted to thank you all again for the work that you did in the annual report, the feedback that you provided. Over $25 million came in during 2024. So that the HCTC is a great tool, but it requires you to really take the tool and implement it within your organization and your community. So great job last year, and looking forward to how this year goes as well. We'll go ahead and look at the agenda for this meeting. Annual review. So we're going to just give a little background about what annual review is and what it means when we refer to it. I'm going to review project applications just because this is a good time for you to reflect and see, do you need to add an HCTC project, and really reflect on, is that a step you need to take as an organization, and reviewing the steps for that. Participation requirements, we're going to review those so that you're aware of them. And then Lonnie's going to do a demonstration of the review documents and how to complete those, and kind of just a overview of that. And then finally, we're going to talk about a survey that we're interested in you all completing. So pretty short and sweet. We'll go ahead and get started with the background. So why do we complete this review every year? Why do we, look at your information and have you complete this document? Basically, one reason is that it's a statutory requirement. So every organization is required to undergo a review to make sure everything is accurate, up to date, and just confirming your information because it is published publicly. So, and we're wanting to make sure everything's accurate for the annual report as well. So, as you probably experienced this past year, our annual report is really based on the categories that you have confirmed within your HCTC project. So we just want to make sure, as things develop within your organization, the HCTC project is up to date as well. And then you may be aware, but we have a list of eligible organizations posted on the HCTC website. And so there are some donors who maybe they hear about HCTC through the grapevine or whatnot, and they're exploring on the website, and maybe they're an unaffiliated donor. They're able to view that list of organizations and projects on the HCTC website. So we want to make sure that information is accurate for them as they're looking at potentially, donating to an organization on the list. And then finally, this review process is helpful if determining if you may need a new project, really clarifying your activities that are in your current project and making sure that you don't have a new project you need to submit, or maybe you have a capital campaign coming up. So we'll review that on this next slide. So for new project applications, many of you probably are fine with the number of projects you have approved now. But if you're looking at the scope of your project and you realize you may need another project with additional activities, or maybe you have a capital campaign that has started or will be starting, those do require new applications. And so if you're looking to have that project open for 2025 to be able to start accepting contributions for that this year. The deadline to submit those new project applications is October 1st. So that really is so that we can get that reviewed early enough for, the end of year giving season, for example. And just a note on that, the approval date will start the basically that's the start date for accepting contributions. So if you submit it on October 1st and hypothetically your project is approved on October 15th, then October 15th is when you're able to start accepting contributions and then issuing credits for those contributions. So the sooner the better as far as your fundraising is concerned if you're trying to get that in for this year. For next year, if you have a project on the horizon that you're looking at for 2026, the deadline for priority review for those is November 1st. So, you could submit it after that date, but we wouldn't be able to guarantee that it would be reviewed and approved by January 1st. So we're trying to, encourage you to get those projects in for next year by November 1st. So that, sometimes there's back and forth questions and clarifications when we're looking at a new application. And so that will make sure we have plenty of time to review that project for eligibility for the following year. And then our next slide has some links for application assistance. So we have an eligibility verification checklist that really goes through what that application really looks like and what we look at for that. And then we do have a list of our project types and descriptions of those. And Lonnie, if you can share that doc on your screen. The reason I want to dig into this is because this is really relevant whether or not you're wanting to submit a new project application. These descriptions apply to your current project as well. So as you're looking at your current project activities and the subcategories that are assigned to your current project, just making sure that they align with these definitions. So some people, may think of outreach efforts to mean one thing or supportive housing to mean one thing. And so this document really builds on the activities within statute to really clarify what do we mean at the Division of Housing for HCTC for these activities within your project. And as you probably found, this is also how we determine what you report on for the annual report at the beginning of next year as well. So very important to review this piece and make sure the categories are accurate for your organization. And, things change from year to year. Maybe you were doing homeless prevention and emergency shelter. But this year, you had to make the hard choice to not provide prevention anymore. We need to know that within your project updates. So thank you, Lonnie. We also have a video tutorial on how to submit a new project that's, pretty short and simple, just showing you on the Salesforce platform how to do that. Any questions on applying for a new project approval.
I have a quick question.
Sure.
Looking at capital campaign, and if we already have donations in for that, um, or will get donations potentially in for that before the date that we applied or will apply for, and that October 1st deadline, can those be applied then to HCTC under the capital campaign?
Yeah, that's
What?
a great question. So really the start date for accepting those contributions for HCTC would be the date of approval for that capital campaign.
Okay,
So if that's something you're looking at, I would just try to get that as soon as possible in advance of October 1st so that we can um, get that reviewed as quickly as possible so you can start issuing credits for those contributions. But yeah, any uh, contributions to that campaign prior to approval would not be eligible for a tax credit, unfortunately.
okay, okay. Sounds good. Thank you.
Hmm. Any other questions? Awesome. We'll go ahead and move on to participation requirements. So, um, the vast majority of you don't have, this isn't a concern for you, but especially for newer organizations, I want to point out that we do have some minimum thresholds for participating in HCTC. And there's two options for meeting those thresholds. So at least $5,000 for your HCTC contributions for 2025 is what we're looking at. But if you maybe have, smaller donations that don't meet that $5,000 mark, that's totally fine. As long as you have at least 5 donors during the tax year, um, that would also qualify to meet that minimum participation threshold. So, you could meet it in two ways. You could have one donor who gives a big gift of, $5,000 and then you'd be set, or you could have $5 at as low as $100 for those 5 donors. So, um, if these are, concerning for you as far as you're not sure if you're able to meet these um, requirements, please reach out to me. Communication on this is definitely helpful so that we can try to connect you with resources or give you ideas of how to implement HCTC to meet that requirement. Um, there is a way for you to indicate this in your project review document that Lonnie's going to review. Um, and you can indicate it there, or, just email us as well is totally fine. But, um, if this is something that you're maybe on the line about, you're not sure, how it's going to pan out with, the giving season, just flagging it for us is really helpful so that we can be in communication and try to support you as much as we can on that. Any questions on participation requirements? Okay. Next, we'll have a review, walkthrough of the document. So these documents are due on Monday, September 22nd. So you have over a month to connect with your colleagues or whoever on getting these documents completed. They do include all of your 2025 projects, and Lonnie has worked really hard to prepare these documents and the process. So I'm going to let Lonnie just go ahead and walk you through what the process looks like this year.
Yeah, thank you, Brianne. So we do have a spreadsheet with each of the nonprofits project review link, and then I can show y'all what that looks like. Basically, it's just a spreadsheet with all of our column A is going to be all of the organization's name, and then column B will have the annual review link. We have edited access to all of these documents so that other nonprofits can't go into your review, so don't worry about that. Um, But yeah, if you have access, you'll be able to log into this spreadsheet, click your annual review, and it'll open up into another tab. If you are logged into your personal account or maybe just an email address that we don't have on file, when you click the link to your annual review, it may ask for you to request permission, and that'll be an email sent to us. And we'll go in and we can verify that you are a nonprofit staff with this organization, and we can grant you that access. But this is what the annual review documents look like. And these are very similar to what they looked like last year. We have a few different sections. Here at the top, we'll have our instructions. If you need some like information, basically it's just to say that anything in yellow we need to have verified by the nonprofit staff. But please do review all of the information because we want to make sure everything is up to date. Like Brianne said earlier, some of this information is a year old, so it's great if you're able to review it all. It also says, you know, our due date here is going to be September 22nd. And then it goes into our first category, which is going to be the general information. This is just going to be talking about all of your nonprofit information, your certificate frequency, your tax ID, your website, and if you have different points of contacts as part of your org, please review these because we do want to make sure our list is up to date. If you need to add any individuals, you can add them here. If you need to remove any of them, you can remove them here. All nonprofit staff will have commenter access, which just means that your edits won't be permanent, but we'll be able to see them as you edit the document so that we can verify that what you put in here is something new and we can put that into the Salesforce platform. Then it just goes into like best practices and track record. Again, if anything is highlighted, perhaps maybe we just needed a little bit extra clarification or we don't have the information. So just give the question a good look and try to answer it as best as you can. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to us via email and we'll definitely get back to you. But yeah, this concludes the general information, and then we go into our project category. And this might look different for different orgs depending on how many projects you have as part of HCTC, but we'll list the different projects that you might have if it's operational services or capital campaign. But we'll have project 1, and then we'll go down. If you had a second project, this one would be here. And then we go into our attestations, which Brianne mentioned earlier, of just our minimum requirements to still qualify for HCTC. If you are in an organization that was approved in 2025, then these attestations will not be there because you are not liable for these minimum requirements. But for 2026, these attestations in the annual review will also be there. But you can definitely write here if you're concerned about meeting these requirements, just let us know here in the document, or like Brianne said, you can shoot us an email as well. And then the last piece is just gonna say that you acknowledge that you've completed this annual review, so that way we know on our end that you have finished it, and we can cross y'all off when it's finished. But yeah, you will get the link to the spreadsheet in a follow-up email from us after this meeting. It'll also have the link to the recording in there as well, and all of the project type descriptions and the survey that Brianne also mentioned will all be in that email. And then you can go in and click your individual annual review. I will note that some orgs that perhaps don't have a Google account as part of their email, they will get a second email from us directly with the annual review document. That's just because Google acknowledges that you don't have an account, and so we need to like send it to you directly. But if you have a Google account, you should have access to your document already. And so once you get this spreadsheet, you should be able to log into it, click on your review and get started. But we do ask, please only have one staff working on this. If we have too many, then it kind of gets a little confusing. And then, yeah, at the end, just make sure you sign off when it's completed.
Thanks, Lonnie. Any questions on the spreadsheet or documents before we go into the survey information? Yeah, this is a pretty, if you participated last year, this is a pretty similar document, pretty much the same. And so if you do have any questions or concerns about how to make comments in the doc or anything, please let us know. But yeah, this is our last slide to share out about HCTC surveys. First, I want to share a survey with you just from us here at DOLA in the Division of Housing. We're wanting to look at, how is the program working for your organization? I think we got a lot of feedback about how your donors really liking it. It's great for fundraising, but just trying to see, are there any resources that you need? What really works from the program standpoint for your organization and the resources and guidance that we provide? What could be improved? As we do have some limitations as far as statutory requirements or the way that the Salesforce system is designed, but whenever possible, we like to try to meet your needs in a more effective way. So this survey is really meant to try to engage with your experience and really understand what you think about the HCTC program in general, especially related to the administrative side of things and the compliance side of things as well. So it really, I went through it myself to really see how long it would take if you, um, spend a lot of time in your answers, maybe up to 10 minutes, but I would say about 7 minute to 10-minute survey on this. And you can go ahead and get started. Lonnie just went ahead and put that in the chat. Thanks, Lonnie. And so really appreciate you. You can go ahead and click on it and get rolling on that. We're asking for this to be completed by next Tuesday, just so that we can look at the results and see what we could potentially put together as a resource. So we heard some feedback from you last year regarding needing resources for fundraising and really that donor communication piece. So we did get some social media templates for you, and we had the webinar last year with the fundraising 101 for HCTC that was well received as well. So we do listen to your feedback and really want to hear what you need and what you think. And I think that's just been my approach from this program since the beginning when we were basically building the program from scratch. So as always, I appreciate your feedback on that and take it seriously. It's not, busy work for you. I really appreciate your time and the feedback you provide. So thank you in advance. And then, as you can see, as the second main bullet point there on this slide is the Office of the State Auditor of the Colorado General Assembly is actually doing an evaluation of HCTC currently. They're evaluating the tax credit so that they can create a report for legislators. So HCTC is set to expire at the end of 2026 based on the original legislation that created HCTC. So what that means is that in order for HCTC to continue into tax year 2027, we need legislation to be passed and go into law next year for that to continue. And so basically the Office of the State Auditor, they review, any tax program like HCTC or other tax related programs that are set to expire to really look at, how effective it is, what's the impact, how is it working. And so I just wanted to give you a heads up about this evaluation because the Office of the State Auditor is looking to contact you to receive kind of your feedback about HCTC. And then they also are looking for donors feedback as well. So they're really interested in how the tax credit is working. So we've already talked with them about like the Division of Housing's perspective a little bit, but they're really wanting to look at, your perspective as a nonprofit, your donors' perspective on how the program works for them. And so they may ask you to share a survey with your donors. So it may be a good time now to be thinking about how to engage with your donors in that way. Do you have some donors in mind that might be interested or willing to provide feedback? Because, as I mentioned, this is a report to legislators to show how effective HCTC is for just our communities and to demonstrate that to legislators who really view HCTC as a tax expenditure because it reduces the amount of of revenue that state takes in. So appreciate your attention to this. I wanted to give you a heads up so you don't think it's spam or anything like that. So Office of the State Auditor, Colorado General Assembly probably will send you an email within the next 2 to 4 weeks and within that time frame. But if you do have questions, you receive an email, you're not sure about it, feel free to reach out to us. We're happy to um, confirm information with you. Any questions on the surveys? Okay, that wraps up the information we were going to share. Are there any other questions about the annual review or any other information we shared today? I'll go ahead and put our email address in the chat. So that email address is the way to reach out if you do have questions moving forward. And we'll go ahead and stop the recording.